tone of the attacks the Conservatives have been launching against Mr. Carney already, and what should we be expecting in the election campaign?
Well, I mean, I think the Conservatives are resorting to the kind of dirty personal politics that Mr. Poilievre has been known for since he was in cabinet with Stephen Harper. I think that's unfortunate, but I actually think Canadians are not in that mood. Canadians are in a mood to rally around the flag, to rally around somebody who actually can stand up to Donald Trump.
So. Mr. Carney, Mr. Carney,
continue on the campaign trail.
Well, it's a really good question. I mean, obviously, I think a number of us who are directly engaged in the discussions with the United States will need to continue to be engaged with the United States. We obviously need to do that in a thoughtful way and not in a partisan way. But, I mean, this afternoon I'm off to Houston to meet with my counterparts at CERAWeek in Houston. So, I mean, we need to continue to move forward, and Canadians would expect no less.
Mr. Tax going up April 1. They did do some strong language about Mr. Poilievre as well as Mr. Trump. Was that the right move?
Well, look, I mean, Mr. Poilievre, as I said in French, has spent the last 2 years telling Canadians that Canada is broken. I don't think that's the way Canadians feel about Canada right now. They think Canada is the best country in the world in which to live, something worth protecting and something worth fighting for. And I think that's exactly what Mr. Carney said last night. Sorry, you...
I was just wondering, is the consumer carbon tax going up April 1?
Well, I think there are some decisions that Mr. Carney's going to have to make, but he was very clear last night that the carbon tax is going away. So, well, I don't want to speak for Mr. Carney. I think those are some of the early decisions he's going to have to make. So.
Are you concerned at all about, it was about 152,000 people voted out of the 400,000 Liberals registered. Are you concerned about that at all?
No, I mean, I think that's actually a pretty good turnout in terms of a leadership race. When you actually have a lot of people signing up, that's basically a 40% turnout. I think that's actually pretty good. And to be honest with you, in my riding, there were like 1,000 people who voted. Normally, the number of members in my riding is half that. So it was great. I think it's fantastic. So.
Are you ready for an election? What do you think the party's chances are now?
I am ready for an election in Beaches East York, and I think we got a fair fighting chance now, yeah.
Who wears a tie like that?
Mr. Poilievre's already attacking Mr. Carney. How do you think that's going to keep up, or what do you think what's going to happen in the election in terms of that?
I did notice for a brief moment on Flag Day he flirted with putting the national interest first, and now he's back to attacking his opponents and putting politics first. Look, we're in a moment where I think we should be sitting down together as much as possible and saying, how do we work together to push back against the economic threat south of the border, and that's what we should be focused on.
And last night, Mr. Carney had some strong words for Mr. Poilievre, but also Mr. Trump. What do you think that means for the U.S.-Canada relationship at this point, and as well, like, what did you think of, I guess, how strongly he came out against both of them?
I think it was clear that he was going to continue with a really strong, forceful response. We've seen an incredibly forceful, strong response from the government so far in terms of retaliatory measures. And I wouldn't just say in a partisan way, pointing to the federal Liberal government. Of course, I think Trudeau has met the moment, but I would say premiers, too, have stood strong and enacted their own measures. And I think it's incredibly important that we stand united on that front.
So you now have a new leader, Mark Carney. He's more further to the right than Justin Trudeau was. Do you think, like, for you, he's more of the...
In what way?
Well, he's against the carbon tax for the consumers, the tax for the... sorry, I don't have the word.
I wouldn't say that's on a left-right spectrum, though, right? When it comes to carbon pricing, I mean, carbon pricing is embraced by economists on the capital gains side. That's fair on the capital gains side, but it's a bit mixed, is all I'm saying. But yeah, look, I have written to say that it's really unfortunate that the carbon tax, the carbon price was effectively killed by misinformation and attacks. We're going to wake up at one point and the lowest income Canadians are going to realize that their rebates are gone and that they're ultimately worse off as a result of this change. But I think the new leader has recognized, and I think all leaders in the race recognize, to one degree or another, that this was difficult politics and Canadians have spoken on it. And I think that's an unfortunate part of the debate on carbon pricing. As it relates to the evidence, we know it works. We know it's the most efficient way of reducing emissions. Politics doesn't always align with the evidence.
There was about 152,000 people who were able to actually vote in the leadership race. There were about 400,000 registered members. That 160 or so were able to get verified. Are you concerned about that at all? That the turnout was so low?
No, I haven't really dug too deeply into the numbers and what all. I heard overwhelmingly from people there were challenges and frustrations with voting. Obviously, you balance accessibility with security, but no, I thought it was a very large number of folks that ultimately were able to vote in the end, and obviously overwhelming results for Mr. Carney.
To be clear on my question earlier, are you preoccupied that Mr. Carney would pull the party more to the right?
It has not been a preoccupation of mine so far. I supported Mr. Carney, and I support him for a number of reasons. One, I think it's a moment that we need seriousness and we need thoughtfulness in our politics. And look, in this moment in time, it's really important we have someone who's standing up for Canada with experience and a record that they can point to. So I think there are all sorts of reasons. When you think of the contrast between Pierre Poilievre and Mark Carney in this moment, I think it's very obvious that one is someone of substance and the other is just always on the attack. So I think for all sorts of reasons, I support Carney. In terms of the direction of the party, look, we're a Big Ten party, and my experience in this party has been that my job as a member of Parliament for Beaches East York is to push and pull and push the party to be the best version of itself, and I'll continue to do that.